Welcome to Waters World. I'm Jesse Waters. Backfiring activism, that is the subject of tonight's Waters Words. Hardcore Democratic activists are threatening to overwhelm the rest of the party. They disrupt peaceful events, make threats, and cause violence. This week we saw a teenager attacked for wearing a Make America Great Again hat. And that teen's going to join me later for an exclusive interview. On July 4th in Lower Manhattan, Americans were sightseeing with their families, celebrating our independence and preparing to watch the fireworks. Suddenly, a radical African immigrant activist began scaling the Statue of Liberty. The woman, part of the Trump resistance movement, refused to come down. Police and firemen were deployed. The entire Liberty Island, filled with 4,000 tourists, was evacuated. The statue was closed. 3,000 visitors were turned away on the monument's busiest day of the year because one selfish individual didn't agree with President Trump's immigration policy. And after a 4-hour standoff, she was arrested. Teresa Como, born in the Congo, was slapped with a few misdemeanor charges. She's probably not even going to spend a day in jail. Now, after costing the city tax dollars and man-hours, diverting valuable police resources from fighting real crime and ruining thousands of Americans' visit to the Statue of Liberty on July 4th, President Trump weighed in at a rally earlier in Montana.
You saw that clown yesterday on the Statue of Liberty? I would have said, let's get some nets and let's wait till she comes down. Just get some nets, really.
This self-centered stunt artist has a wacky past. She's filed several seemingly frivolous racial discrimination lawsuits against various entities. She had run-ins with neighbors. She's been slapped with nearly $5,000 in fines by the Department of Sanitation. She's also been arrested for trespassing and assaulting a police officer. And following her release from jail this week, Okomo said she was inspired by Michelle Obama.
Michelle Obama, our beloved First Lady that I care so much about, said when they go low, we go high, and I went as high as I could. Trump has wrecked this country apart. Nothing you can say to me will justify putting children in cages. Only a stupid, unintelligent, coward, and insecure, I will add a maniac, will whip a tender-aged child from its mother.
First of all, I don't think Michelle Obama wants your endorsement. Second, the photo of a child in a cage, that image she's talking about, was from 2014. The Obama administration did that. Trump didn't put that kid in a cage. Fake news is now causing real rage. We all want families to stay together, so let's all work together to achieve that goal while at the same time protecting our border and protecting children from fake parent human smugglers. And radical Democrat activist tactics have turned regular Americans against their party and their cause. You'll remember Black Lives Matter protesters disrupted the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade while parents were celebrating the holiday with their young kids. Occupy Wall Street protesters who wanted higher income for workers shut down traffic in Detroit so people couldn't commute to work on time and earn their income. Left-wingers who were screaming about Trump's rhetoric on Muslims and immigrants caused mayhem during his inauguration and firebombed a limo owned by a Muslim immigrant. Idiots. Democrats protested an ICE raid in Oakland.
ICE is not welcome in this country. HSI is not welcome.
We're going to fight back. We're not going to let people just disappear like this.
Turns out ICE was conducting a raid on human sex traffickers. Democrats actually rallied against this. You can't make this stuff up. So after the family separation controversy at the border and all the recent street action by Maxine Waters' left-wingers, Trump's approval rating is up with Hispanics. It's up 10 points. This according to a Harvard-Harris poll released just a few days ago. Amazing, isn't it? And now the most important issue determining people's votes in the midterms, immigration, largely driven by Republican enthusiasm. So Democrats, your radical tactics are backfiring. Be careful what you wish for. Here to react, 2012 Republican presidential candidate and Fox News contributor, Herman Cain. So, Mr. Cain, what would you have done with that woman that scaled the Statue of Liberty if you were in charge?
Well, I would have waited until she got hungry enough and thirsty enough to voluntarily come down. The human body can only take so much hunger and thirst, and I would have just waited her out.
Just waited her out and starved her out. But then they wouldn't have been able to go up and tour the Statue of Liberty. Everyone wouldn't have been able to visit.
You're right. That whole incident, Jesse, was just another example of, and I know these words are harsh, another example of the ignorant narrative of abolish ICE. It's ignorant because most people who are claiming they want to abolish ICE, they have no idea what ICE does. 1/3 of ICE's activities revolve around immigration and the border. 2/3 revolve around fighting crime, drugs, sex trafficking, and a whole lot of other things. They have no idea.
You're
so
exactly
they are
right. And we just
following a narrative. Yes.
We just showed that video of those protesters. They actually were protesting an ICE raid on a human sex trafficking ring in the interior of the country, in Oakland, California, or north of the southern border. They don't get it, and it's these people that are turning regular Americans against their cause. We saw that with Black Lives Matter when they were disrupting things. We saw that with Occupy Wall Street. All of these little protest movements, they start off, righteous cause against police brutality. They want higher wages, but their tactics are so rude and disrespectful. These are now movements are so marginalized that no one takes them seriously anymore.
You're absolutely right. In the case of abolish ICE, Jesse, I don't even call it a movement yet. It is simply an ignorant narrative. And a lot of people, unfortunately, are falling for it because I don't believe that these protests are spontaneous. I believe that they're manufactured. And in order to have a manufactured protest or multiple protests across the country, somebody is paying somebody to make it happen, and maybe even some of the protesters. I'm just saying.
You're exactly right, because I looked into this, and the Resist Trump, or what, Rise and Resist, whatever this woman's group was, if you go down to the bottom, below what they stand for, there's a little donation thing from Act Blue. And Act Blue is this big kind of mainstream media, mainstream Democrat, financial clearinghouse where they run all the donations through. And I looked into what Resist and Rise, or whatever it is, stands for. They want to get rid of nukes. They want to get rid of Sean Hannity. They idolize Stormy Daniels. They're for kneeling during the national anthem, and they want to oust the Trump regime, whatever that means, Mr. Cain.
It's called anarchy. Anarchy begins with creating as much violence, disruption, and distortion in the society as you possibly can. But here's the good news, Jesse. A lot of people are responding to the narrow lens of the media, as I described.
Yep.
They put the narrow lens of the liberal media on all of these fringe protest activities, people climbing up to the base of the Statue of Liberty.
Yep.
That does not represent America. The numbers you quoted earlier about President Trump's approval rating going up with Hispanics, they're going up with everybody. Why? Because real people with real sense aren't falling for this malarkey. That is the good news in the middle of all of this chaos.
Yes, America is resisting the resistance. Mr. Cain, thank you very much.
Happy to be with you, Jesse.
Now, Hollywood liberals feeling less than patriotic on all days the 4th of July. Chelsea Handler tweeting, "To every country on the 4th of July, we're sorry about our president. He doesn't reflect all of our views, and we hope you know that the majority of us are ashamed. We will rally each other and come back to the world one step at a time." Michael Moore said this, "Happy Resistance Day. The revolt continues some 242 years later. Come on, people, let's finish this." Ooh. And not to be left out, Dan Rather wrote, on this 4th of July, I refuse to let Donald Trump have the flag of the United States as his own. I refuse to have the Pledge of Allegiance sullied by the jingoism and divisions of our present national leaders. I refuse to have the Star-Spangled Banner used as a cudgel against principled speech. I refuse to let the best of this nation be debased and weaponized against truth and justice. I refuse to bow to cynicism. So why aren't liberals proud of America on the 4th of July? Joining me now, former senior advisor to Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, Philippe Reines, and conservative commentator Gina Loudon, who is a member of President Trump's Media Advisory Board. So, Gina, I'll start with you. Do Democrats have a patriotism problem?
Well, polling suggests that perhaps they do. Polling suggests that, in fact, Democrats tend to be patriotic based upon who is actually occupying the White House rather than the founding principles of America, such as the Constitution, the struggles of our founding fathers to establish our country, those kinds of things. That's what conservatives tend to base their patriotism on. And not only that, Jesse, Democrats feel more patriotic when they're doing things like protesting, when they actually, 51% of them, I believe, said that they believed a patriotic thing to do was to break a law or to refuse to go to a war or to burn a flag. So you can see that the lines are very different between what Democrats and perhaps conservatives or Republicans consider patriotism.
Yeah, Philippe, I mean, wow. Burning a flag is patriotic, breaking laws are patriotic. I don't think that's what most Americans believe, do you?
Well, most Americans don't approve of what Donald Trump is doing. You know, you can cite polls where his numbers are going up. His numbers are still abysmal. He is someone.
So wait, what does that have to do with patriotism?
Well, I don't think any of this has anything to do with patriotism. July 4th is not just about bottle rockets and hot dogs. 242 years ago, it was the ultimate protest telling King George that we're not going to have any more of this. I think what's as divisive, if not more so, is other things that were going on July 4th. To talk about the poll that both you and Dr. Gina were just referring to, your own Britt Hume sent a tweet that he had to later take back because it was unfair to label Democrats as being unpatriotic.
Well, you know, before we get into whatever Britt Hume said, I'm not familiar with that. Let's actually take a look at the poll. And this is from Gallup. National pride dropping among Democrats. Now, if you look at 2018, just 32% of Democrats, proud Americans, Republicans, 74%. But I mean, from 2013, you know, it's gone down by, you know, more than 20 points. That was when Barack Obama was president. Republicans have pretty much stayed the same. I mean, what do you account for that?
Well, the bulk of the drop started in 2015 forward, and the bulk of the Republican spike has started in 2015 forward.
It's not much of a spike. Come on.
Well, but this is essentially a referendum on Donald Trump. These numbers about pride have been going down since before 9/11 with both parties. Look, in an ideal world,
not as much on the Democrat side compared to the Republican side. Let me move on.
Because this is a referendum on Donald Trump.
I really don't think it is, because he wasn't president in 2015, Philippe. Now, I honestly do think the Democrats have a patriotism problem, Gina, because when you talk about what they did with the kneelers during the national anthem, they sided with them. You know, a lot of people on the left and the media sided with Kim Jong-un against Donald Trump. And we saw Bill Maher the other day rooting for an economic recession. It just seems to me, based upon their behavior and their rhetoric, that they don't like America when it's robust, when it's succeeding, and when it's, you know, patriotic. Or is that too large of a jump?
I wish it weren't, Jesse. I hate the whole thing, to be honest with you. I think all the time, I feel like if we could sit down, Republicans and Democrats, and have a conversation, I don't think there's that much we disagree about. But I do think the rhetoric of the leadership, of the media, and of the Hollywood elite is influencing people who are participating in these polls to say some outlandish things. And even Philippe didn't deny when I said that some Democrats' patriotism is based on burning a flag or on protesting or refusing to go to war and those kinds of things, so, or breaking a law. And so if that's the kind of thing they're basing it on, Jesse, it's a sad day in America for them.
I don't want to sit here and diminish anybody's patriotism. I don't want to question anybody's patriotism. I'm just looking at the behavior. And when you protest July 4th, when you protest Columbus Day, you know, when you kneel during the national anthem, it's just a lot of people get the wrong idea, Philippe, when people do that. That's all we're saying. You know,
what idea do people get when Alex Jones of InfoWars says that the Democratic Party is about to launch a civil war on July 4th? What message does it send when the right attacks NPR for tweeting out the Declaration of Independence one at a time? What kind of message does it send when Donald Trump...
I don't remember those things, but I do know that Bill Maher, I mean, I do know that but Moore, Michael Moore said, oh, let's revolt. Let's finish it this time. That sounded like he was calling for a little violent action against King Trump.
Look,
but I got to leave it at that. Guys, both of you two are very patriotic, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Thanks. You too, Jesse.
Coming up, Ben Shapiro on the Supreme Court picks. And a Waters World exclusive. The boy attacked for wearing his Make America Great Again hat is here. Stick around.